What is cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Gaming 101 with Mr. Berger. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at a LavaHound clone deck that was recently covered on CWA. I've been having a lot of success with it. So we're going to start by breaking the deck down with a few replays, and then I'll jump into some live matches. Alright guys, we are starting by going up against a LavaHound deck. I think this is a Lava Miner kind of deck. Covered this deck recently, or at least a different variation of it on my channel not too long ago. I feel like Wolverine here with sticking my hair up. That's funny. This deck, it's really powerful right now. It's an archetype that I really enjoy. I am not a big fan of a big fan of LavaHound, but I definitely enjoy the Lava Miner decks. I enjoy the Lava Lumberjack decks. They're a lot of fun. So this one, I was naturally drawn to it because it's a Lava Clone deck, and I really enjoy Clone, and I really enjoy Lava No Loon decks. As I mentioned, I don't really like Lava Loon decks, but I like LavaHound decks that don't have the balloon in them and just kind of have another sort of win condition in there, or semi-pseudo win condition, with the LavaHound kind of just being your main tank. LavaHound isn't really a hardcore win condition, but it does go directly for the tower. It is super tanky, and it can do a good chunk of damage, especially with those pumps. So in this deck, the LavaHound itself, paired with the support behind it, of course, is kind of like your main win condition. Now, as I mentioned, I found this deck on CWA, and I was drawn to it for both of those reasons. It's got Clone in it, and it's a LavaHound deck without a balloon in it. The first thing that popped out to me about it was that it's kind of off meta. It is definitely a little bit unusual for LavaHound decks. You're used to seeing a Lava Loon deck or a Lava Miner deck or something like that. This one does have like the Baby Dragon and the Flying Machine. Flying Machine is a super underrated and super powerful card. I feel like it's kind of low-key one of the most OP cards right now. If it's used in the right hands, it can get a whole ton of value. But it's not something that you generally see in LavaHound decks. It works out really well because it's so, it has that potential for so much value. It's so long range. It sits in back, it's fly, it snipes things from afar. It can destroy minions slowly one at a time, or it can snipe away at tanky units or destroy support easily. It's got high DPS. It's got massive range. It just fits really well into these decks. So that was another thing that drew me to this deck, was the presence of the Flying Machine. Definitely a card that I think deserves a little bit more attention. But as I mentioned, it's not one that you normally see in LavaHound decks. I feel like it could be put in a lot of LavaHound decks, but LavaHound is one of those cards that's almost always been stuck to just like that one or those two classic decks, and there's rarely ever any variation. Like, for a while it was just Lava Loon, and that was like the only thing out there. And finally there was the Lava Miner deck somebody discovered. But, the Flying Machine is not one of those cards that I saw in there a whole lot. You'd almost always see, like, okay, Tombstone, Guards or Goblin Gang, you'd see the LavaHound, you'd see the Balloon, you'd see, what else is it, like a light and heavy spell, either Arrows and Lightning or Zap and Fireball, something like that. So seeing these unusual cards, not only the Flying Machine, but a bunch of other cards in this deck, in a LavaHound deck, caught my attention even more. Now, the Baby Dragon is a little bit more common in LavaHound decks, for sure. Skeleton Army maybe used to be, but honestly, since Goblin Gang and Guards became a lot more prevalent, you almost never see a Skarmy in a LavaHound deck. And one thing I want to point out here, you'll notice that if you're going up against like a Zap, there is an element of Zap bait. I'll cover this a little bit more in the future here, but I just want to point that out, going up against Zap or Snowball or something like that, because you do have the Skeleton Army and the bats as well. So do keep that in mind. I'll be playing that. I wanted to point that out now because I think it comes into play in this deck a little bit, or in this replay a little bit, excuse me, unless I'm mistaken. So anyway guys, let's get back on track here. So what about the other cards in this deck? Well, I mentioned the Skarmy. The bats also a little bit off meta for a LavaHound deck, but they go with that theme of LavaHound deck, heavy air beatdown really well. And they're a cheap card. They can be kind of a cycle card, but they've got some serious damage. They were a card that I maxed out on ladder not too long ago, I guess a little while back. Definitely not the first, but like one of the first few cards that I maxed out for ladder, because they're really great. They do so much damage. They only cost 2 elixir. They are super squishy. They die to Zap, they'll die to the Princess Shot, etc., etc. But they work out really well, honestly. Now, the mini P.E.K.K.A. That's really the one that's wonky and strange in a LavaHound deck. And I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of cards in here that you wouldn't naturally think would go in a clone deck, but I'm telling you guys, it works out really well, as you can see in these replays. The mini P.E.K.K.A., it's definitely a really good ground counter. I think one of the reasons that it was highlighted in this deck was because this was going on, and during this time of this recording, it's still going on for a few more hours of the time of the mini P.E.K.K.A challenge, where you had to like play the mini P.E.K.K.A 100 times to get the reward, right? That silly little quest. So anyway, that was why that is in there. But honestly, it works out pretty well. I don't think that's the only reason that it's in there. I think that it actually is just kind of like a secondary benefit of that, of having the mini P.E.K.K.A in there. But it's a great card for countering like Hog Riders. It does insane DPS. It can practically one-shot like Musketeers and Wizards and stuff. I think it can one-shot them. If it's not one, then it's definitely two. I mean, it just does massive DPS. If you can get it to connect to a tower, say that it goes in under the Lava Hound, or it's caught in the middle of all the skeletons from the skeleton army and it connects to the tower, just one swing from it is like letting a balloon touch their tower. It just does an insane amount of damage. I mean, that thing really hits like a truck. It does so much damage. Look at the placement of that baby dragon up there. I just want to point that out to distract the two AoE splash damage units, using the skeleton army to kill the goblin barrel, I believe it was, and the hog rider there, without getting splashed by either of those other units, the princess or the wizard. So just little plays like that I like to point out from time to time. Alright guys, getting back on track here. When I build a clone deck, I generally focus on cards that really synergize with clone, and you'll notice that when it's like my own clone decks, I'll always be putting things like the Night Witch, Lumberjack, Giant Skeleton, Ice Golem, Skeleton Barrel, Balloon, all these things that really synergize with clone because of their death effects and things like that. And as I mentioned in many other clone videos, you can get a lot of value from, like, say, a Giant Skeleton being cloned, because then the clone drops a bomb as well, and that bomb does an insane amount of damage on top of the regular Giant Skeleton's damage, or his bomb's damage. So that's generally what I'll go for, but I feel like I go overkill when I craft my own decks with all those cards. I feel like this one and a lot of the successful clone decks that I see in ladder or on grand challenges and things like that, like the pros that actually do pretty well with certain off meta niche clone decks, they often just have like one or two of those cards that really synergizes with the clone. Like they base it around, in this case, the Lava Hound, or they base it around the Golem, or they base it around the Giant Skeleton, and then they get a bunch of other cards that you wouldn't think naturally go well with clone. Like I remember there was that Golem Wizard. It was like a Golem clone mirror wizard deck, and I was like, okay, why do we have a wizard in there? Because the wizard just works really well with the golem, and you could put something that synergizes better with the clone in there, but you need some just classic to support as well. I often found myself in a situation where, like, you would see that I would put a bunch of swarmy cards in there, for example, and then they would just have a bunch of splash damage units like a Mega Knight and an Executioner, like this guy has in his deck. And then, my Goblin Gang plus Skeleton Army plus this and that, it was kind of useless because their entire deck was built around a bunch of splash damage that just consistently countered it. So that element of bait was kind of, gone, because I wasn't worrying about their bait spells. I was worrying about the Executioner consistently plowing everything down. Or rather, I wasn't worrying about baiting out their spells, is what I meant to say there. Anyway, so I found that putting some cards in the deck that you wouldn't naturally think would go super well with clone can actually work out pretty well, just to make the deck a little bit more legitimate and not super off meta and super easily countered. So that's why you have things like the mini P.E.K.K.A and the baby dragon and the flying machine in here. The Lava Hound and the skeleton army and the bats are really the things that benefit from the clone a lot. Obviously the Lava Hound, because when it is cloned, the cloned version will split, and then you'll get a bunch of cloned pups as well. And the skeleton army, because you can turn those few skeletons into a whole ton of skeletons. Same concept with the bats. However, even though the baby dragon and the flying machine might not be super traditional to go with the clone, if you've got the Lava Hound in front and it's successfully tanking everything, and you clone the baby dragon and the flying machine in back, if nothing's targeting them, you'd be surprised. Those clones can live for a long time. If your opponent doesn't have any splash damage, or maybe the Executioner is distracted by your Lava Hound or something like that, you can clone that baby dragon, you can clone that flying machine, you can even clone the mini P.E.K.K.A and get a whole bunch of extra DPS there instantly in your support. It just amplifies the amount of support that your tank has. And then if you have the Lava Hound cloned as well, then you got another little extra sort of tankage there, because yeah, the Lava Hound will die instantly, but then he splits into a bunch of pups, and each of those has to be targeted and die as well. So that is kind of the core concept behind this deck, why it works out so well. Let's talk about a couple other things I wanted to point out here. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it on that point. You know, just craft the deck more around like 1 or 2, maybe 3 cards that really synergize with that clone, and then just get some other support cards that can work out, as well. As I mentioned earlier, there is an element of zap bait with the bats and the skeleton army, and you'll see that in some of these replays if we haven't seen it already. You'll see that they use their zap on my bats, and then I'll be able to safely put down the skeleton army to counter like the Hog Rider or the P.E.K.K.A or something like that. And in this scenario, yeah, they see there's the zap, and then I can safely put down the bats. But honestly, that wasn't even necessary. The flying machine and the baby dragon would have taken it out. Then we're going in for a big counter push here. I use the clone, but it doesn't work out too well. The P.E.K.K.A does connect there, the mini P.E.K.K.A. And that's one of the things you got to be careful with the clone, is that it is a very high risk, high reward. So if you clone at a bad time and then they instantly arrows everything, for example, or you didn't realize that they had a bunch of extra elixir and then they Mega Knight on top of all your skeletons, or whatever, they're just able to instantly counter it, or you don't get that much clone value, then you've thrown that 3 elixir away. And when they reworked the heal, that's kind of what they were going for, is like, okay, we don't want to make it a super waste, so if you miss it or whatever, it's not that big of a deal, right? But they haven't done that with the clone. It's still 3 elixir, so if you whiff it, you are down 3 elixir. That's like a wasted knight. You know what I mean? Or a wasted Mega Minion that just instantly killed, and did absolutely nothing. So do be careful of that. You don't want to completely whiff that clone. Make sure to save it for an opportune time. Play it like a pocket card. Play it when you're sure that you can get some value out of it. Now, this deck does have some good counter cards, right? You've got the Skeleton Army, great counter card for Hogs, for Battle Rams, for P.E.K.K.As, for Giants, for Golems, all kinds of things, right? You got the Bats, great counter card. They're cheap. They do high DPS. Mini P.E.K.K.A, huge counter card. Hits like a truck, but gets distracted easily and dies relatively easily. So huge defensive card. Flying Machine and Baby Dragon, so-so as far as defensive card. They're a little bit more support cards for your tank. But this deck, although it does have those defensive cards, it's definitely played kind of like a beatdown deck. You can play defense, maybe hang on to the Lava Hound until double elixir time, if you want to, because you do have a good amount of cards in here that you can use on defense. You do have the light spell, Snowball. You do have, all those other cards I mentioned for defense. But honestly, it really shines when you go in for a big beatdown push, or you can catch your opponent off guard with a clone. And you'll see here I sacrificed that tower on the left, and that's something I want to point out here. If you're playing like a Golem deck, you need to learn how to use your tower as a resource and be willing to take a little bit of tower damage, so that you can go in for a deadly counter push in the opposite lane, or save your elixir to even same lane push, get that golem down, get all the support down. Same concept here. I was willing to take that damage on the left tower and even lose that left tower because I knew he was investing heavily a lot of his elixir into that lane, and then I was able to provide a bunch of support for my Lava Hound, get that big beatdown push going. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. It's played kind of like a beatdown deck, especially because you have that clone in there, and that really shines when you've already got a bunch of units on offense, and then you clone them, and then it just turns into this unstoppable wave, especially with things like the Skeleton Army, because it's covers such a large area that things like Fireball can't always kill it all, or Zap, or like Executioner or Wizard will have trouble killing them all. If they're cloned, it's double trouble. And then you've got the Lava Hound, and then the clone Lava Hound splits into all those pups, so even if they Fireball the clone Lava Hound, then instantly you've got a bunch of pups that cannot possibly be taken out by the same spell. So definitely played like a beatdown deck. You can catch them off guard and just use the clone on like 1 or 2 units, even just like the Lava Hound, but generally you're going to be saving it for when they've got a whole bunch of stuff, or you've got a whole bunch of stuff on offense, and then you can go in for a really deadly push and just wreck their tower. Sometimes even just go in directly for the 3-crown victory. Now, I sometimes get caught in an awkward cycle with this deck, so do be careful. You don't have too many ground units. Honestly, looking at it, you've only got 2, right? Mini P.E.K.K.A and Skeleton Army, which is kind of classic for a Lava Hound deck. Usually you've only got like Tombstone and Guards, or Tombstone and Skeleton Army, or Tombstone and Goblin Gang, or whatever it is, right? But in this case, you've only got the Mini P.E.K.K.A, you've only got the Skeleton Army. So you've got to be careful. Sometimes you're going to get caught in an awkward cycle, and you're going to be doing things like trying to counter the Hog with the Baby Dragon. But that's when you got to remember this is played kind of like a beatdown deck. So sometimes it's okay to let them, get some good damage off with that Hog Rider, and then you can go into the opposite lane, or even the same lane later with a massive push, and then that extra damage they got with the Hog Rider will mean absolutely nothing. Alright guys, really quickly for opening moves, I tend to open with a Lava Hounds. You can open with like Baby Dragon or Flying Machine, but just be careful for getting them, or getting Fireball value on your tower from them. Did I say Fireball? I meant to say Fireball. But anyway, that's kind of what I do for openers. I won't waste time with card replacements today because I want to jump into some live matches. Alright guys, I'm going to be playing on my main account here on my phone, and we will be spectating here on my alt account on my computer. That's how I do my recordings. So let's see, let's go ahead and open here with the bats. And let's see what he does. He has a bomber coming down the back. That's unusual. I don't see that too often. Even though it got buffed a little bit, I think, not too long ago, it's still kind of an off meta card. I do gotta be careful of it because it can potentially take out my skeleton army and stuff. So I'm gonna mini P.E.K.K.A up here to try to kill the bomber, and then hopefully the mini P.E.K.K.A, yeah, it'll chase down that giant and take out that giant. Alright, that's really good for me. That was a really good trade. Dark Prince is going to come in here and connect to the mini P.E.K.K.A. Flying Machine might take out the Musketeer, not quite, but pretty close. Alright, we're going to go ahead and... Ooh, I should have done something more to counter that Dark Prince. I was hoping the bats would take out that Musketeer too, but no, they did not. Alright, well, Flying Machine here. Finish off that Musketeer. Oh boy, Flying Machine is going to... Oh man, that was terrible. Flying Machine went up and connected first before the Lava Hound, which is not good for me. But anyway, we'll Baby Dragon here. That should take out those goblins, and ideally the bomber as well. Bomber's going to get his swing off. Nope, he did not. I was mistaken there. Lava Hound's going in, getting some good chip damage. Baby Dragon doing work there by taking out those spear goblins on the right that were destroying my Lava Hound, or at least doing some damage to them. There's the log. I'm not too worried about the giant at this point. I'm actually going to lose, or excuse me, take out. He's going to lose his left tower there. So not a bad start for me. We're going to go for Lava Hound in the right now. He's probably going to try to push hard on my left tower. Maybe an aggressive giant or something like that. I do have the mini P.E.K.K.A, so I am going to wait to see what he does over here. He has no anti-air right now over there, so I'm going to use the bats over here. And I'm going to go ahead and mini P.E.K.K.A. There's the zap. I'm going to go ahead and mini P.E.K.K.A over here. And then we're actually going to Flying Machine kind of on the right here, but in range of that bomber, so it takes out the bomber. And, oh dang, it didn't get the Musketeer. It locks onto the giant first. Good giant placement by him. But either way, there's the log. Let's go in with the Baby Dragon. Flying Machine does not live. I was going to try to clone all that and make some good use of the clone, but we didn't get a chance to do so. Let's go ahead and do bats again up here. That should take care of that Dark Prince. We'll mini P.E.K.K.A right here. That'll buy me some time. Flying Machine. Giant Snowball just to buy me some more time. Yeah, that'll be good. And then we will Skeleton Army up here to finish off that Musketeer, just to make sure I don't lose too much damage on my left tower there. I've only got to hang tight for about 15 more seconds here, so if I can just play a solid defense for now, we should be golden. Do I need to Giant Snowball? I don't think so. Alright guys, that is it for that first match. So let's see, that is 5-1 now. I managed to go 4-0 with this deck, and then I got a loss, and then we got another win. So let's see if we can get one more win to wrap this video up. Alright, let's do it to it. Let's give him the good luck. We'll give him the Screaming Hog, because I love that emote. One of my favorites in the game. I should have mentioned this for openers. I actually like to open with bats. I tend to do that a lot if they're in hand. Just split them in the back there. They provide a little bit of defense down both lanes. We're going to mini P.E.K.K.A in the left here, kind of cycle it in the back. Not the best card to cycle in the back, but hopefully it does okay here. I was just thinking it counters the, what's it called? The Executioner pretty well. That was a bad Giant Snowball. I actually knocked the Executioner away, but I think he would have destroyed the mini P.E.K.K.A anyway. Xyz's out of hand for now, so we're going to go ahead and push. What's with the bombers? I don't know, guys. That's strange. We're going to go ahead and Lava Hound on the left here, because he doesn't have his Executioner anymore. Looks like he doesn't have Zap or Log, or he either that or he didn't have it in hand. We'll see. So let's go ahead and Flying Machine here. That should take out the bomber. And then we're going to go ahead and Baby Dragon. And no, let's actually just clone this. Did he leave or something? Is he like not... He's not even defending. He must have left. Lame. Lame, lame, lame. Alright, well, let's go ahead and just finish this one up real quick. And then we'll jump on into one more. I'm not going to count that as a win. That was pretty lame. Maybe he got scared of the lava clone. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, guys. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into another match. Alright, let's give this guy a good luck. We'll give him the Screaming Hog. Let's give him the Screaming Bandit as well, because everybody's screaming. I don't know why. I just need the Screaming Barbarian too. And then I have the Screaming Piglet, the Royal Hog on my alt account, but not on this one. Alright, I open the Skeleton Army in the back. He's got arrows, that's good to know. He's running arrows. So he'll always have that for my Skarmy or for my Lava Pups more likely. Split the bats in the back, and then we're going to go ahead and open with a Lava Hound in the bottom right here. And he is probably running some sort of a Golem deck, I'm assuming, with the Night Witch, because that's almost the only thing that runs Night Witch anymore. Ooh, yeah, definitely. He's running, he missed two. He's missed the lightning there. He's running lightning arrows, definitely, and so that makes it lightning arrows Golem deck. I think I talked about that earlier in this video, if I'm not mistaken. Is that going to be it? Am I going to have another lever here? What kind of luck is this, guys? I want to do a video recording, and I get 2 levers in a row. Well, I don't blame that last guy. He missed his lightning, and I think that was pretty much, he's like, alright, I lost, I give up. Alright, let's get a real win, and then we'll call it a video. Of course, now I'm at 7 wins, which is usually around where I fall off, if not sooner. So I'm going to be going up against more difficult opponents because I had a couple levers. Not going to probably be the best for my video, but it's okay. There's nothing wrong with showing a loss here and there, right? Showing where I messed up and how I could have done things better. Alright, let's give him the Screaming Hog. I see Night Witch again, so I am assuming that this is also going to be a Golem beatdown deck. Mega Minion to take out my Baby Dragon. I didn't realize he even had that Valkyrie in front there. Alright, I'm actually going to do a really good job defending here with the Flying Machine. Takes out pretty much everything, honestly. Let's go ahead and I don't want to invest too much else in that. I feel like I got some good value there. I feel like I should just hang tight, wait to see what my opponent's going to do, and then counter accordingly. Well, he just used his arrows, so let's get funky here, and let's just use the Skeleton Army at the bridge. It's going to force him to probably Valkyrie or something like that. Night Witch, okay. Do I get any damage? Yeah, a couple of skeletons. Well, just one skeleton got a swing off, not bad. So that, honestly, that's not too bad of a play, because what that does there is it forces him to, use his cards on defense so that, I mean, he's running Lumberjack, he's running Night Witch, like, it's definitely a Golem beatdown deck. So, he'll kind of get out of his usual rotation because he's, being forced to use cards on defense and won't be able to build up his big beatdown push. Alright, there is the arrows, which means he does not have them for the Lava Pups now. So they should be able to get some damage here. I use the Flying Machine there, and that distracts the Baby Dragon there, so that the Baby Dragon does not cleave and destroy all those Lava Pups. Wow, I'm actually doing pretty well this game, making some pretty good plays. Let's make sure to keep it up and not get too cocky, because, oh, there's the Golem, because it's easy for him to come back. I think what I'm going to try to do here is actually go in the right and go for a 3-crown victory. I have some good DPS to try to counter his Golem. I've got the mini P.E.K.K.A, but he's definitely going for a big push on the left there. But he's going to have to take the extra time to take out my Princess Tower and everything. So I may be able to... But let's take out the Lumberjack, because that's going to be the high DPS. And then we're going to support this Lava Hound with as much as we can. We're going to Baby Dragon that. Bought me some time there. Oh, there's the arrows, which means I can safely clone, and I won't have to worry too much about the Lava Pups getting destroyed by the arrows. Let's see. We're going to buy me a little bit of time here with a Flying Machine. Oh no, I should have gone all in. Oh man. Alright guys, that's actually not a bad closer. I can finish it off with a loss. As I was talking about, I get more difficult opponents there at the end, right? And, honestly, I probably just didn't play that too well. Maybe I should have defended more. Maybe I should have gone all in and not defended at all, right? Ask a pro. I'm sure that they could figure it out and tell you how I could have approached that properly. But anyway, that is it for tonight, guys. I appreciate you watching all the way until the end here. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a good night.